Right, good evening, councillors, and welcome to tonight's full council meeting. Agenda item 1, apologies.
Apologies have been received from Councillor Kevin Abbott, Councillor Cathy Gray, Councillor Yvonne Southwell and Councillor Guy Woodham.
Thank you very much. Agenda item 2, declarations of interest. Councillor Sinnott.
Agenda item 24. Library, of personal interest as the cabinet member.
Thank you very much. Any other declarations of interest? Okay, thank you. Agenda item 3, question and answer session with members of the public. Received anything, Madam Clerk?
Yes, we've received one note from a lady about the library. Have you got it there?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you. So the question that we've received is based on the agenda going online. I asked this previously, but wanted to ask again, just to keep it at the forefront of discussions. Okay. Can I ask, will the public be kept up to date with the ongoing discussions surrounding the future of Milford Haven Library, as currently everything is being discussed confidentially? I'm happy for my question to be asked at the meeting on Monday, if that helps. That's what we're doing this evening. As part of that, I did ask the clerk to reach out to PCC and the Port of Milford Haven, because obviously it's a joint venture. It's not solely our responsibility or to share that information. Can I read out what Mike sent back? There it is. So, as a result of that, Mike Kavanagh has responded today. So I'm going to read that out to you. So from my perspective, I'm fairly relaxed if you wish to make it public. I would need just to let my team know out of courtesy, especially because it talks about setting up a meeting for would-be volunteers. Moving forward, we will all need to be mindful that the minutes will be public, and this could become more sensitive later on down the track. So on balance, my preference is to keep things confidential. But if that is problematic for you as a town council, then I can live with it going public. It's not so much that we have anything to hide. It's more about when it's appropriate to go public so that negotiations are not compromised inadvertently by early release of information, which can set hairs racing. Keeping minutes high level is helpful because I expect it is when we start talking about financial figures that commercial sensitivities can come into play. That's the response that we've had from Mike Kavanagh. Any comments or added? And the one thing I would add is we haven't had anything in writing yet from the port around their perspective.
Yeah, I saw animal lawyers when I was walking in, and she basically backs up what Mr. Kavanagh said.
Yeah, although I just reiterate, we haven't had anything in writing. Yeah. Mr. Sharp.
I think in line of the sensitivity of some of the issues, I feel if we go public straight away, it's very easy for perhaps members of the library to be concerned, thinking they're going to be losing their job, misunderstanding what's being discussed.
But the question was raised as from a member of the public, so we're going to answer the member of the public's question. Yeah.
So I think at this moment we should remain sensitive, and we should remain non-public.
So
I agree with that.
I mean, there is two elements to this, I think, and Councillor Bridges rightly raises the question there. The question from the member of the public, we should answer, and I guess the bit that Councillor Bridges was raising is whether we go into closed shop when it comes to agenda item 24, is it? So, I mean, I think on balance, unless anyone disagrees, the response to Mrs. Allen, who has raised the question, is that we will, of course, want to keep the public updated, but it's not solely our information to share. So it would have to be done in agreement with the port and county council to ensure that all parties, as equal, as an equal partnership, although it's three, are satisfied with what information and when it is shared, because that was underlined by Mike actually in that email, was when it's shared. Answer?
Is Alan worker in the library anyway?
No, it's a teacher from the community primary school, I think.
Oh, it's a different one.
Yeah, Leanne Allen, sorry. Oh, it is the hearing aids. Is she right? You okay? Okay, as long as you're okay. Okay, as long as you're okay, that's fine. That's a good thing. Don't worry. All right. Any other comments to add to that? And I know we'll take the minutes bit separately when we get to agenda item 23 and 4. Yeah. Okay. Right. Agenda item 4. Then news from the mayor. A couple of things to share that I've received in. As we're talking about the library, I'll start with the library bit that I've had. Use the library or lose it. It's been received from Mr. J.T. Morgan, who is a former mayor of the town. I don't know if you can recall when.
1979 or something.
Okay. Yeah. So he does speak to the office really often. So I'll read what he's put in. The Milford Town's library is a wonderful asset within the town. The library is about to be closed or moved from the good facilities at Haven's Head. All are under a threat. The world of books is available to everyone. Computers and audio books are in the library. History, travel and sport is there for all. An adventure awaiting children and adults, pensioner and toddlers. It can be a starting point of adventure. Books on travel to exotic places from tropical islands and all evergreen forests, deserts and frozen wastes and adventure. The start of a love of books that triggers the imagination to read and learn, the power of the written word. We must use and promote our library for the citizens of Milford Haven. Always remember, the written word is mightier than the sword. Please support our library with the bit that asks me to read it out at tonight's meeting. So I'm not necessarily asking for any comments unless anyone wants to add, but what I will do, I'm looking at the secretary to remind me to do this, I will personally write back to Mr. Morgan to advise him that we are taking a keen interest in this and working with the Port and the County Council to come to some resolution for the future. The second item that we've been asked to share is from the Priory House over a trustee vacancy. It has 2 vacancies for trustees or directors on its governing board. I think it might have been shared in our comms already. But Priory House is a small independent residential home in North Haven for 9 adults with additional needs, where we support our residents to live their best lives to their full potential. Our trustees not only attend our bi-monthly board meetings, but also visit the home periodically to build a relationship with the residents and staff and to support our great management team when necessary. We're looking for people to join our small team who are proactive and some experience in business management, social care, healthcare, corporate admin, or working with adults with additional needs would be a benefit, but not a requirement. This is an unpaid voluntary position, but the rewards for someone who wants to be involved are priceless. Applicants will be interviewed by the board and house manager, and the successful candidates will be invited to join the board after a DBS check and references have been received. If you're interested, please email the secretary, not ours, Liz, for further information and an application form before the 13th of May. So I thought I'd share that with you. So if anyone is interested, then please do get in touch with them. That's it for that. Agenda item 5, mayor's engagements. One thing I did omit from there was the secretary and I attended well, we went on a visit actually, a visit to Pembroke Dock Town Council, which I have to say I was really impressed with. It's an old shop in Pembroke Dock. I haven't been there before. I went to the old Town Council Hall, which was connected with Pater Hall, to look at the IT setup that they've got through Cloudy IT. But otherwise, we'll just move that for a seat because you've got information for that. Agenda item 6 then was councillor engagements and community activities. That was also emailed out today. Unless there's any comments, we'll move that as receipt. And agenda item 7, feedback from councillor representation on outside bodies. Does any councillor on outside bodies wish to? Yeah, councillor Sharp.
If I may, Mr. Mayor, if it's the right place to say this, I spoke to, oh God, his name's just come out, Mr. Walters, from the Twinning, Dorothy Walters.
Peter Llewellyn? No, he is Peter, isn't he?
Yeah, it's Peter.
Yeah, Peter Walters, sorry,
Peter Walters.
not Llewellyn, yeah.
And he's, I think since Paul Dorothy, if anybody knows Peter and Dorothy, they were the backbone of the Twinning Association. I've recently contacted him to ask him because there's been some inquiries about Romley and there's other people. He really, unfortunately, is not in a good place himself. Health-wise. And he really is kind of like showing no interest carrying on the Twinning at all. So it is going to be, both the two packs that were also on the Twinning are just kind of saying, I spoke to them recently, they show no interest in carrying on with it as well. So I am the only member of the Twinning organisation now.
Congratulations, councillor Sharp.
5 years off to help as well. Thanks to help as well. So we have got to try and find something to build that up now. So I'm going to just take it over as much as I can. The issue I've got is he said that Dorothy dealt with everything. So when I'm trying to say who are our contacts in Oman, I know the translator, Tamara, and that's my only contact. Now I'm going to speak to her now. I know where we stand, and see if she can put me in the right direction. But I don't really know who to speak to in Romley. So I don't know if perhaps somebody could, town clerk or something, could help me find that out.
Sure, we'll have a contact.
And once I know contact details, we can do something. Yeah. Oh, you did you? I'll speak to you about contact details because obviously Dorothy she passed away a few years ago.
Yeah, a few months ago, yeah.
So we need to try and see if we can reboot that up.
Okay, so it, yeah,
there.
thank you.
A little while before I spoke to Peter, so just I will look into finding contact and explain
Okay, so Woodward, do you have a question then? Sorry.
That's good. I can understand the relation. I know the council involved. It is a Twinning association. So is that association actually part of the council, or is the council part of the association, or what is the actual?
So my understanding, and I'm sure Councillor Sharp or Councillor Sinnott would correct me if I'm wrong, but it's a separate group, but has a standing councillor as a representative. And in our case, Councillor Sharp is our representative on that group. I believe that's correct.
not run by the council. It was always run by Dorothy and Peter. But I took out the representing.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
provide funding.
All right. Thank you for that. Agenda item 8 then, questions without debate pursuant to standing order number 6. None. Agenda item 9, minutes of the meeting of the full council held on the 24th of March 2025. Councillor Bridges. Was that seconded? Oh, I thought it was a question then. All those in favour? Okay, thank you. Agenda item 10 then, to receive reports, recommendations and resolutions on behalf of public events, because Councillor Gray is unwell. The public events subcommittee meeting held on the 22nd of April 2025, and because it's a subcommittee, I'll go page by page. So page 191 and page 192. Just for reference, I'm cited as reminded about the use of the chairs. I'm nothing to do with the Sea Cadets, but I have advised the secretary to contact the commanding officer of the Sea Cadet unit.
I've received a correspondence from the commanding officer. We've got
Perfect.
12 chairs. We should have 12 chairs.
Perfect, thank you very much. Oh, I was very conscious there's an action that I have no ability over. Okay, any questions? Otherwise, move minutes. Yep, all those in favour? Okay, thank you. And then the standing orders subcommittee held on the 23rd of April. Minutes to follow. Was that was a separate email, wasn't it? It's in the paper. Flip the minutes then.
Alright.
These ones were added a little bit later, I stick to emails.
Yes, that's right.
Yes. Yeah, they came out Thursday. So, well, I don't have actual page numbers on these. What does it start with and end in? 193. Right, okay, I've got the minutes in front of me, but it doesn't have a page number, interestingly. So, page 193. Page 194. Page 195. All those in favour? Okay, thank you. Agenda item 11, current members of the public events subcommittee, please see attached email from Councillor Bridges. When I say attached, it's a separate piece of paper that's been handed out by, I think, the clerk. Councillor Jones?
People involved and businesses they get together and amazing things.
Mr. Shaw?
Yeah, I also agree with Jones. I think it was very important to at least invite these people who had previous issues with certain events not running quite as well as they could have done. I mean, as Councillor Bridges says, we have done this before.
We have, yeah.
But I think invites should go out, but it's a case of we have a standard list of where to organise and just invite the people that are relevant to that event. Otherwise, you could land up with having hundreds of people at a meeting. That would be my only. If it's something like, I don't know, something that involves the British Legion, for example, then do we look at who needs to be invited, or do we invite everyone to stand to every single meeting?
Just before I open to further comment, we already operate like that. If so, for example, the Legion attended the discussion around VE Day, and so did the Port. But I think this is more about standing members that are not councillors, which our standing orders allow. And we have previously had that with the Round Table and under the previous version of the business or town regeneration group being a standing member. Councillor Bridges?
Just give you my hand. Chair.
The town regeneration team. Yeah.
Very successful. But without being too assume what you will all say, I reached out to the round table and the business circle in advance of the seminars, and I asked the question, if I propose this, would you be interested? And they both very much were. So they both stated they would be happy to send on a member to they saw the benefit of it. So as I said, you know, whether they would engage it was up to them, but I mean, as I said, we should really find out and try. I didn't approach school as a suggestion. I thought again, you know, involving the school is a really good idea. But also, you know, it's the main benefit of raising room, but not limited to. So if somebody did materialise, they can as well. I thought at least as a starting point, you may want to at least try and currently to one of them to be a good starting point. And what's always going to happen? Can I do well or nobody attends and fails again? At least we could say we tried to invite them and find some people together for better.
Councillor Woodward?
Unbeknown to this email, I was chatting to Jamie from Business Circle, and I was trying to get their concept on regeneration of the town. I don't know where it's stood. And Jamie, the secretary, made it quite clear that they would very, very much like to work closer with the town council on various issues and things. And I think the more we can involve in the area, the better for us and for well, really everybody.
Yeah. What's the Senate?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I've no issues at all with the proposal there. The only thing I think we need to be conscious of is where there is funding available, particularly provided by ourselves. If that funding is channeled towards organisations that are sat round the table, then that may not look fair to other organisations within the town. So I'm not saying that there's not a way of doing that, where if there is funding, those organisations leave the room while that is dealt with. But I just think we need to be very careful of how this is looked at by those organisations that may not be able to or wish to attend, but see other organisations perhaps possibly as a result of being there. And some people might say, well, they turned up and they contributed, so they, you know, why shouldn't they get funded? But we have to be seen to be fair across the town.
Yeah, it's a fair point. Councillor Bridges?
We already had a question. On that virtually, you could argue that museum and the court are that ultimately we have the president.
Councillor Jones?
if they're not, everyone's willing to put themselves forward. Everybody gets the opportunities to step forward and get involved. Then if they miss out, then that's not.
Something you can call you about, anything that is discussed.
Well, councillor.
If you're giving the people the opportunity to feel and be involved. Yeah, if you bring it, you'll get there.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. And I think just for further clarity, you know, this sort of, I don't want to use the word die, but this version, you know, died because COVID stopped the fact that, you know, we weren't having events, and therefore the rep from the business circle, the rep from the round table had no requirement to attend. And then as we restarted from that, obviously we were concentrating on how council would look and not other bits. So, you know, it is good that I think we're revisiting that. And, you know, if there was one thing that came out of the standing orders meeting the other day, that it's about that cohesion within the town and community engagement, then I think that's a great thing to do. So I think, unless there's any further comment, and I just to sort of highlight, you're right, everything is ratified by full council. So whatever decision is made isn't guaranteed until it comes to us. Then I think we should ask the public events to consider representation again from the list that you've got there, but not limited to. They might decide that actually the Legion, because, you know, the Legion are often communicating with us, you know, should be a standing member. But I think one thing that we require is consistency. So they have, like we send reps to certain groups, they should have that same rep. That would be my only key thing there, unless they need to send someone in their absence. So I think we're at a point of either recommending that we re-engage with this or not. But yeah, Councillor Sharp. There's a number of hands up there for seconds. Yeah, okay. So unless there's any amendments, all those in favour? Yeah. Anyone against or abstaining? Good. Agenda item 12, review of the Milford Haven Town Council's fidelity, guarantee insurance, financial regulations and standing orders. That was quite a mouthful, wasn't it? So let's start with the, oh no, it's coming as a 3 anyway there, isn't it? Yeah, okay. So I will take that in 3 bits actually. So the first bit is whether the town council has adequate fidelity guarantee insurance cover. And as you can see, it was last increased in March 25 to 500,000. Unless there's any objections, we're happy with that.
We received anything from them to suggest that that's not appropriate?
I spoke to years ago before it went up to 500.
So
It's fine.
Auditors satisfied, yeah. Okay. The second bit then is the review of the council's financial regulations, and you can see they were last considered by us in 2024. I won't go through page by page unless anyone has any particular questions. It's a biggish document, so I'll pause for another second or two. Okay, so happy with the financial regulations as a whole? Yeah. Okay. And then the review of the council's standing orders, which were last amended this month, based on the standing orders committee, which in theory we should all be supportive because we've already accepted the minutes. Councillor Sharp.
I'd like to say that these 3 documents are very quite important and should be looked at by the council. Very informative. They deserve something worth having. So it's really good to see it with that.
Okay, so we'll move them as a whole. All those in favour? Okay, thank you very much. Agenda item 13 then, the draft risk assessment for the club and group events done by our deputy mayor. So thank you, Councillor Davis. Councillor Sharp.
Sorry, I'll echo that as well. I'd like to say thank you to Councillor Davis. It's very comprehensive. Running a social board that holds events as well, so we have light, I think, the majority of the their own risk. I haven't said that we can't guarantee that. So again, it is a very good document that we could perhaps send out to some of us. I'd like to say thank you very much. It's very comprehensive, very useful information.
It is a standard.
Don't undervalue yourself.
Well, you copy and paste it, we're giving you credit for that reason.
Should we all plagiarize it? I think it was done in zero, Councillor Jones, wanted to hold a little swatting in the past. I think it goes further than that, I'm afraid that, you're opening a minefield if you're going to try and do something. And, of course, Milford Town Council will have to take the full brunt if anything was to go on to law. So I would suggest that, you reconsider.
Right.
I think, sorry, Mr. Mayor, I think that is where it is useful, because I'd like to think that any organisation would have their own risk. But if somebody then comes to us and said they're wanting to do this event or do a event or something, and if they then, one of the questions we should be then asking is, do you have a risk assessment? If not, send them out.
Here's a version.
With guidance. So I think it's a very useful tool to have for the future. So thank you very much.
It's in very good intentions, mine, but I don't know how Councillor Jones feels about it.
Okay, but as a separate, oh, go on, Councillor Smith.
Just gonna ask then, Mr. Mayor, that any organisation then that we provide funding to for an event,
Yeah,
should have a risk assessment. But we would be funding this event, doesn't it? Yeah. It's not just our own events.
yeah,
It's
all events that we're supporting. Yeah,
have we written that into? Standalone visual, our
grant policy. I can't recall off the top of my head.
I haven't been involved in anything.
No, I can't recall, but the clerk can have a check.
These things are all right organising until something goes wrong and then. I'll be kept up and bite you in the bum. Even the round table, you know, for fireworks and carnival, what people have done their own risk assessment.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. Councillor Stevens? Oh, Councillor Jones? But, well, look, I think we would still be funding it if something went wrong, because it would be our public liability. You're organising it under our banner, aren't you? Okay. Ah, right, okay.
But it would be perceived to be running by Milford Town Council, wouldn't it?
Okay. Councillor Stevens?
You are honestly going to be the type of going to have. I know, because I've sued. I'm suing an establishment now, but I know everyone's trying to take care of themselves and cover their own bits, you know. But I think the community does need something like this. If you wrote it on your own back, that you can bring your own sandwiches, so no one can get allergies because they bought their own sandwiches. You have an accident, then that's your own fault. We are not responsible for your children. We are not responsible for what they ask and their responsibility. The whole point of this was bringing together the community to celebrate it, something good. It just seems like we're too scared to do stuff just in case. But we can work around that. We can always tell them if an accident happens, it's not our fault. You're here eating your own sandwiches that your mum and dad made you, or I think the youth of our town, it's important to see that we're all working together and to celebrate the day is important as well. It's just, I don't think we should be so scared to stand back. You know?
I agree with your sentiments around, you know, what what it's trying to achieve. However, I would disagree that we're scared. I don't think that's the case. However, we are the professional body within the town, and therefore there's a set criteria to be able to run events as a minimum, you know, insurance. So if because of the very nature that we're discussing this event is connected to us. So as a minimum, we need to make sure that we uphold the standards that are beholden of us as elected members. If not, then we shouldn't be discussing that event, and that's someone else's problem, i.e. a group that's going to lead it. I think we're going off topic slightly, so I'm just going to bring it back. So in this particular case, the risk assessment does cover the event if that goes ahead under us, but generically, it's a risk assessment that we will keep on file for future events. So it's not specific to that one event. So if we're happy with the risk assessment, then we can accept it. And the discussion around that particular event needs to happen outside of this with public events, because that's where it was held last week, was it? I think public events are leading that group. Yeah. And then we can progress the rest of the agenda. But I'm just trying to refocus it a little bit because it's a generic risk assessment. And if that event does go ahead, then at least it's there to support it. Okay. So unless there's any issues or amendments to the risk assessment, can I have someone move it, please? Okay, and happy to second. Yeah. All those in favour? Okay, thank you. Right, agenda item 14, Milford Haven Town Council investments. Please see attached report. Councillor Bridges. Yes.
So at the moment, we're receiving a 45% interest rate on that investment account. Yet that money is at risk. We actually is an investment fund. That decision did not go forward. It was clarified by chairs and mayor, not for the reason. If your standing orders provide for, that's fine. However, what I'm concerned about is, because there is a precedent, it has happened before. If a market crash occurs and that money goes, it will be everybody sat around the table now who have in the point of that. My query was, what are we currently getting in our savings versus the investment account? If it's kindly clarified that we are getting a reduced rate at the moment, but I can do because Councillor Southwell is here.
Councillor Gray, isn't she?
Councillor Southwell is a signatory on the nationwide account.
Which it can be very easily. I just my own, when we do it at the government, the renewing savings can get the best rates. We would be receiving a 4.5% return to the CCLA investment if it was in a non-risk savings account. Now, as the clerk correctly points out, even within a bank, there is only a guarantee of £5,000. It's the bank with that. We're not talking about bank collapse, we're talking about market crash. Even when market crash occurs, the bank can still be bought up by the government, again, making investments for the security. So the risk of the bank crash and the risk of the market crash are two different variables. All I want to put forward is this council happy for our money to be sat in an investment account, which I will say I have a been very legitimate. They can only go 1.5 billion under management. They're not saying anyway, not that, but I'm just conscious of the fact that I'm personally not comfortable in knowing that the money that we have invested in the is 320,000 is currently sat in the account, which does hold the risk associated with it. So if the market crash does happen, in my opinion, is well overdue, which is based on trends that's happened in the stock market over the last decade. We are going to be, shooting in the not in the future, but the money is listed. The question I put forward is, do this town council feel it appropriate to do that money in an investment fund, but we could be listing to put to non-risk return on the things while we were on and renewing it, or within a fund where it could potentially go off if it was a market crash. That's my question. I think the whole institution rather than so at least everybody is put their name down, it should be always happen.
Okay. Councillor Woodward.
What is what we should do council? Can't agree with that. I would point out though, that the building society or the grant, whatever, it's only a limited guarantee. It's not 89,000. Yes, and starts to set theory, market crashes and safe at the back. If the bank goes bust, which is just what rental, we're still only get £85,000 a month back. CCLA stands for churches, charities and local authorities, so membership based fund, I believe, I'm right in saying. That they use they hold 1.5 billion. I'm not for or against it, I'm just making the point that you could potentially still lose an awful lot of money.
You have the direction, maybe not being as careful as you would be if you're over. I understand that's what we're saying, but I think it's right to that line and point out. For a bank to fail, the economy is failing as well, which means it doesn't matter what we do, the entire economy is pretty much that the bank is failing, which has happened in the past. But if the market does crash, even if it goes to near zero, the bank is still survive, the market for a day bank. If the bank can the bank is an investment, two separate again. Okay, so how they invest the money and how they sell it. So if you're investing in the market and the market crashes, it can still go down to zero and we can lose all our money. We're down
Stuck in.
If we have our money in the savings account, yes, effectively the entire bank will need to collapse for us to lose that money. But the likelihood of the market crashing and going down are more likely than us to
Spent soon anyway, will that?
Will be spent, some of it is going to be spent very shortly.
Well, what's left of that anyway?
Yeah, so
Anyway.
just for clarification, the money that we've got with the investment fund, the CCLA, which was obviously recommended to us by the internal auditor originally, is the money for the cemetery land. So rather than it just sitting in the account, we decided that actually it would, if we can get some return, and we have had some return, as you can see, that it was sat there whilst we were looking at the tenders. Was it February's meeting? I can't remember now. January's meeting. We appointed the tender for the designs, etc. So things should start moving for the cemetery. It's just that money was sat there, and we took the opportunity to get some money in rather than it sat in an account not.
I mean,
Yeah.
I wasn't doing that completely.
No. There is, sorry, just to add, there is 50,000 of our general reserves in the CCLA as a separate. So there's two pots of CCLA, if that makes sense.
But the original money you're on about will be spent soon, so it's only sitting there temporarily. So for a long term, we don't need to change it. It's not going to be in long term.
Hopefully. Yeah, we want the cemetery land to be sorted. Yeah. Do you want to add anything? Okay. So I guess the question is, are we satisfied that it remains with the CCLA currently, or are we wanting it to go to a non-risk saving account? Yeah, no problem. Yeah.
Into the savings account, and for like so many years before you draw it out.
Depends on the type, but yeah, it's another consideration. Okay, so in which case, I think that was useful to raise awareness of actually the pots of money that we are currently sitting on, and also the current investment that we've had back from, well, the interest, sorry, not investment, the interest. But it does certainly raise, what's the word I'm looking for? Raise another reminder that actually the cemetery land needs progress. Yeah, it has started. Yeah,
Just spread the risk. Around that, rather than sort of putting all our eggs in the basket, whether or not spreading risk by holding it in a number of different accounts and what suggested ones might be.
Yeah.
Might be quite interesting to know.
You happy to? Yeah, the clerk will investigate that. Yeah, Councillor Bridges. Yes.
My opinion, I should not be given professional financial advice. I mean, it's a case of, but you know, no doubt they did do it, but I think that is questionable that more to gain professional financial advice unless they are qualified to do so. Because ultimately, if that money did go, then we I just want to make that observation that that was linked by the motion that would be appropriate.
The option gives advice. All right. Okay. Right. Okay. Okay. So the clerk will go to our auditor and ask the questions that Councillor Sinnott has raised via the discussions, and we'll come back on that. So thank you.
Yeah, we move on. Any individual treatment about this, what it's not further agree.
Yeah. Good spot. He didn't risk assess it. Leg wasn't clicked in.
Somebody was pulling my leg.
Right, agenda item 15 then, cemetery reports for February and March 25. Councillor Sharp.
Mr. Mayor, well, they are for information, so unless anybody has any questions, I move receipt.
Councillor Bridges.
I knew that was coming.
Yeah, you do.
Come back, because the external panel will be due for 6 months, because it is high. The new turf cap costs 4,000 plus VAT. We locked into a contract for 5,000 year contract. The new commercial part of it, you can get 4,000 VAT. So my question is, should we not be looking into the contract?
If we purchased one, it would be cheaper. The turf cap we have is about £35,000 worth. And we couldn't afford to just purchase that. Yes, absolutely, we do. Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so unless there's any further questions, we've had moved receipts. Got a seconder. All those in favour? Okay, thank you. Agenda item 16A is the planning applications, which are for information only. Unless there's any further comments. Councillor Sharp.
I most often explain exactly why can just really approve, etc. Just referring to the one 240929 LB, which we changed to use of the chapel.
Sorry, Councillor Sharp, you've jumped one ahead. We're just on the applications first.
Sorry.
He's eager to get this meeting finished. Yeah, so unless there's any issues with the planning applications, we'll move them as a whole. All those in favour? Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Sharp, 16B, planning notifications.
I really wonder if anybody could, because that one that I just mentioned has been refused, although we approved it. I just wondering if anybody knows why it was refused.
Sorry, I did look. It was something to do with the heritage officer. You see, so I looked at it several weeks back. I can't recall off the top of my head, but there were concerns. The only one of that still down in the area or something like that.
Right, okay, thank you.
Any other comments? Otherwise, we receipt. Yeah. All those in favour? Okay, thank you very much. Agenda item 17, we've already done, but the secretary wanted to make sure we included it. The election of Mayor 25-26. For me, this is an opportunity for whoever wants to propose me and second me on the evening. But I think the original proposer or second is not available now. Is that right? Yes. Okay, so Councillor Stevens is willing to propose. Councillor Beavis Morrissey is going to second. Okay, all those in favour? Okay, thank you very much.
Date is May.
Monday, the 12th of May. Yeah, and agenda item 18, the election of deputy mayor for 25-26. You'll have received today, I think it was, the email of the two nominations. So Councillor Vicky Hammett and Councillor Mark Woodward. What's happening now is Fiona's giving out the sheets on your voting slips because it's done by ballot. And then once you've had the opportunity to vote, she'll come and collect them.
Vote out the chimney.
That's true. I'll get the white smoke ready. Yeah. Oh yeah. All jokes. Yeah. You're under pressure now, that. Another white one's the second round if we need it. Oh, my last. Very teasing.
Here we are.
Councillor Bridges? Yeah. There is a president, is it? No. What is on? I think what is there? So I was just to clarify. Yeah, speaking with the clerk, there is no precedent for that. Unless Councillor Sinnott's mind goes back further than ours.
Right, any question?
Around the election of it, both candidates are worthy and able. And is there an opportunity to ask any questions?
Haven't.
No, I didn't think so.
But I still remember having happened.
Don't know.
This is being reviewed in itself, it's going into.
Actually writes it. Yeah. Okay. So there's no precedence for it, but obviously a number of councillors have made a decision. Maybe we would have to stop and start again if that was the case. But we haven't asked them to prepare, particular answers or questions either. Yeah, it does. Yeah.
I'd say it's hard. It's a couple of times, especially with the candidates. There is some questions that I have, like they generally more important. Because whoever that person is, from the leader of this candidate, and they will be giving guidance through. Therefore, there's questions like that. Wasn't the way of doing it, it's just popularity. There's feedback to these standing orders
Yeah. Yeah, no, I get that. It's based on obviously the nomination. Well, hopefully the information in front of you. Were you going to? I think there's one more. Councillor Sharp?
Just one, it don't automatically be updated.
That's
That's because we have the right when they are, if they served as a year as deputy mayor, we then still have the right to vote them in as mayor or not. So if we weren't happy with them during their year as deputy mayor, they don't automatically.
Oh, where did I go wrong?
I don't think it's ever had, certainly hasn't happened, but we do have the right.
I think so. Yeah. Well, where did I go wrong? Sorry, Councillor Bridges.
Candidate and read, and then so you want to have, as you would with any job interview, you want to interview them thoroughly, and actually say they give you the best candidate. So going back to the discussion we had at standing with regarding the job descriptor, is it when you're making, you know, it's a question when you have multiple candidates, it does feel like a popularity contest, and a big box rather than just being able to
Yeah.
something correctly, which might then give you a more position who would be a better leader for this candidate. In this case, they've both really worked hard candidates, which is why I'm sat on the fence, which is why I think it's a good opportunity to actually ask. Rather than it being one person who stand back, yes, they're definitely the right person. In this case, they're both good candidates, so it's a shame that we don't.
I'm not sure who was first. Councillor Peters Morrissey. I'll go alphabetically.
I don't think it's a popularity, like I was saying, like if, you know, as like I said before, with being a councillor, if you've spoken to your fellow councillors enough, then you should have an idea really of who you think might actually have done a better, who's going to be the better candidate. Because if you know them enough, or if they speak out enough, or like a passionate person, by sitting on the council, they've got to sit here for so long. Like, how long is it now they've got to be on here before you can apply? So in that 2 years, you should have seen really what they've been doing in order to see, okay, are you going to be the best one? I mean, there's no best one. It's just who do you think at this time the opportunity is better for in the last 2 years? What have they done?
Really bad point, but like you can't really hold
Isn't it? Anyway, like that.
I am listening, but I'm also reading.
And this is like to make, there's nothing to say that you can't.
Yeah, it doesn't say anything about questions. Yeah.
Yes, we vote on it.
It's a very,
No, does that mean everyone else should be allowed to read
So
it?
if we go off last year's experience, my life was made or not?
Well, sorry, I'm just asking the clerk because my issue now is all other councillors already voted. So based on the questions, would that change their decision? So I don't know what's fair, if I'm honest.
We can ask a question back to me.
I am allowed, I would need second, but I would like to propose that I am allowed to ask the candidates questions.
Change it.
But could you not ask them before the meeting started?
Well, I think that would be appropriate because ultimately it's a case of the question I'm asking is relevant to this whole council. All the candidates.
Oh, it's not personal. Oh, okay.
So very, you know, I'm going to balance on like that. Like both people, it's the incredible business. But there's something sticking in the back of my mind that I would like to ask.
So I'm ultimately I'm a bit perplexed by this, and I'm just asking the clerk for advice on what we should do for the fairness. And I'm putting her in a very awkward position now.
Question obviously is supposed to benefit everybody, but we've already made judgment on our own. So does it matter? Like, I don't think there should be a revote.
Well, potentially someone might think, oh, actually, I didn't like that answer. I want to change my vote, or I like that answer. I want to change my vote, or not.
Wasn't that confident in the vote in the first place, then, was you?
Set a precedent, don't you,
Yeah.
when you start doing this?
Councillor Stevens, sorry, you were junior.
Just question asking. Said that we've all been members for many years and we all know each other. You all know everybody's attitude and your quality.
where they go. But to me, to ask
You've
a
got some-
question after votes has been taken is not right. The votes were taken, the votes were taken.
I expect before the vote is taken, otherwise I mean, the correct way.
Okay, go on. Yeah, potentially.
We vote for it, do it in the future, yes.
Well, Councillor Shaw.
I think for the sake of progress, there's nothing to say that Councillor Bridges can't ask, so I think we should ask this question, and if anybody does wish to change their votes, then they can. For the sake of progress, I think it's just been no matter to-
Yeah, in which case I think we need to make that null and void aside. Okay, right, so. In discussion with the clerk, we have decided that the votes that we have done previously will be null and void, and the secretary will hand out the spare slips. Because we do a backup, and therefore there will be an opportunity not just for Councillor Bridges, but for anyone that may wish to ask a question.
You've been incredibly good at it. You've also been really bad at it. I'll tell you that.
Because I'm staying on.
Because it's developing the point, but the reason you've been such a bad mayor is because like any entertainers, I hate to follow that up. And ultimately, you have been very good at following.
Oh, I don't know about that.
I got a I don't mind saying this, I'm nearly cancelled 100% Democrat. I can all actually do it.
Yeah, I've missed
So I
one.
want to make sure that the person I'm supporting is the best person for my time to give up to. I'm not going to put myself forward in there and because I'm not time to commit to it. But you and other mayors, as all around the state, are taking incredible time to role. I think that's commendable, incredible thing to do. My question looking at it today was, just to be simple, was I'm looking at we discussed the role of script and standing orders committee this week.
Yeah, we did.
So the black over planning code, there are two main components that I view that make the mayor. One being public representation and two being the council. Now, with that in mind, I believe both parties will make incredible representatives for the public. What I would like to ask with candidates is in relation to subcommittee meetings, are both candidates willing to put themselves in a position where they're going to commit time to subcommittees as you have done so during this time frame? So that this, I'm curious to know what their answer will be and how much time are they going to give to leading the council? And ultimately, it's a case of I would like to know that from my own mind. And it's a case of that for me might actually be a deciding factor for how I would do it, because I want to be able to follow someone who I know is. Okay, cool. So that's the question.
Is that a question about the question?
Well, I just thought that by being mayor or deputy, you're automatically on most of the subcommittees to attend anyway.
Yeah, so I think the question is,
Oh, okay.
yeah, it's not necessarily that they're automatic members. Yeah, for clarification.
I believe the good part, be very honest and I'm asking the
Yeah.
question. I'd like to know what is there.
So just for clarification on that, the mayor and the deputy mayor are standing members of every committee and council meeting. So regardless of whether they're able to make it or not, they're invited to those meetings. So I think the question is, how are they going to fulfill that? So we'll go in the order that it is on the sheet. So Councillor Hannett.
Therefore, between the hours of like 9 and 5, generally, on weekdays, I would be able to events on those days and less important. And that's why it's my job, or person. That is that. Having said that, as long as the deputy and teacher is not one of you turn up and you work 9 to 5, and that's the end of your role. You have to be flexible. You have to be able to look at ways around it when solutions. And I play in my role, I'm a social worker, I'm a child protection officer, I'm an event organiser, I'm a teacher, so you've got a very small part of it. I manage the team staff, myself as well. So in that sense, I believe I've really got a lot of the quality in the role. In terms of time, they've been completely transparent. Yes, if you're looking for somebody that can work on this 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, I can't do it. All right? What I will say is that I will commit my time effectively. I believe I have done that. I've kept quite quiet about it, but pretty much every week I've been at youth council, liaising with our young people, liaising with Councillor Jones about local youth blackers and now with Big Dale, and Dean Farmer. So in that sense, I am actively working. Am I on committees and things? No, I haven't been. I was supposed to be on the software fence committee, which I thought I was most suited to, but unfortunately that time changed to the daytime. Would be up straight away. Now, yes, I would be happy to take on this again, but obviously people would have to be flexible. It would have to be a time which I could feasibly make. That's the only thing I would ask of the council when we voted in. That's what I would think to you. But in exchange for that, you get very clear secretary person, new fresh ideas.
Thank you. Councillor Woodward.
I think one knows where I stand on most subjects and issues. I'm not the quietest of people. I tremendously admire the actually how it became. I think there are two excellent candidates here, and it's up to you to make this call. Time-wise, it's probably far easier for me on my business. Really 50 years of myself, senior manager of Rich Gas. From a time perspective, it is easier for me. I would like to have every single meeting because I couldn't. The right things. I am tremendously passionate about improving Milford. That is the only reason I joined this council. I believe Milford is stuck with government for too long. I've got to give credit to the mayor. In the last couple of years, he really begun to change the council around and becoming what I would like to see, which is a more progressive council, a proactive council as opposed to a reactive council. If you're after probably how do I put it, I don't mean this in a sexist sense, the nicer figure to stand in front of a group of people and just spoke, it's definitely outstanding, don't always think. But if you want someone to put the time, the passion, the commitment, the drive, the desire, and it's me. If I may make one other observation, the council I've no objection to all stand up for who I am, what I am. I've made mistakes in the past, I hold my hand up. But I do think in the future, if we're going to do this, I think the candidate should at least be warned in advance questions about the issue. I don't have a problem with it, don't get me wrong. I've got nothing to say, as you know. But for future events, it should be, everywhere. And please, you must look for whoever, you believe be the better ultimate leader of this council in just over a year's time, really, and the support will currently.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other questions?
No, £10 of bullet.
Councillor Bridges.
But I actually think it's really worthwhile, ultimately, with anybody to do that, people that's really good actually strong. They do on it rather than just a written paragraph in an email. I really appreciate that.
Does anyone else have any questions? So you've had the opportunity. Okay. No time for vote. I can, unfortunately. Going to the loo.
Yeah,
No, that is in the minutes, isn't it? It's on the orders.
To consolidate this.
Um,
All right, you've got one.
Yeah, no problem. That is often. Yeah, that and as you know, the mayor or deputy mayor, depending on who's at an event, will often be put in that position of. Could you just say a few words, please? Okay, so we've got a majority. So the deputy mayor for 25-26, it will be Councillor Mark Woodward. Okay, right. Oh.
Oh, can we put Muslim on him when he's up there?
Right, agenda item 19, applications for financial assistance. 19A is the Milford Haven men's shed. So please see attached.
Oh, it's not.
Councillor Woodward.
Then you shed, they haven't said from memory, about £300 they in the last year, they wanted to buy some drills, I think. And we supported them. But I don't think they don't mention them out, but I would have spoken around the chamber. I think they're a fantastic organisation. They do a lot for the town, a lot for the council actually. And I personally would willingly give them a donation.
Yeah, and so you're right. They don't state an actual amount. They just mention that the lease is £1,200 per annum, and any money would be greatly appreciated. So yeah, Councillor Bridges.
Assume on the outcome of reporting you.
Yeah.
That these have met the criteria of our grant policy in the for the years. Just like to make that assumption.
Yes.
Thank you.
So we're talking about the men's shed application. Sorry, I appreciate Councillor Jones and Councillor Stevens Jr. ran off to the toilet. Yeah. Yeah, no worries. Councillor Sharp.
As a reminder, I remember we sort of allocated 40,000.
Yeah.
Main part. Can I be, can you remind us how much is available for these? The front of it, or is it all
40.
come out that?
40,000, yeah. For all tiers.
Right, they're all, well,
Councillor Beavis Morrissey.
So if they've not put the amount that they want, does that mean that we've got to recommend something to give to them because
And realistically, even if they had put an amount, it's still up to us to recommend.
They're not asking for any amount, they're just saying that their lease is it.
The lease is 1,200. Any contribution to that would be greatly appreciated.
I recommend that we put at least 200 to them because they have helped us regarding the swimming pools throughout the summer with doors, etc. for nothing. They did it. They helped us and didn't charge or anything like that, and they do a lot around here, so I'd say at least 200.
Well, you're saying at least is your
I'd
recommend?
say £200.
Okay, so we've had a recommendation for £200. We have a seconder. Well, make an amendment then. Yeah. Okay, so we've got an amendment for £400. Do we have a seconder for that? Yeah. Any other amendments or recommendations? Okay, so all those in favour of £400 for the Milford Haven men's shed? Yeah. Thank you. That was actually unanimous, I think. Yeah. Perfect. And then 19B, then Milford Haven round table.
Are they not in this?
No, they came out as a separate pack, and I don't know if we printed any off, did we?
You just say come to asking for or whatever.
Okay, so they have asked for 6,500. The breakdown is £3,000 for carnival, £3,000 for fireworks, and £500 towards the light switch on. No, that's incorrect, is it?
Shouldn't, that's not a grant. It is what we pay them.
Okay, so just to clarify then, it's £6,000. The light switch on, we pay them to do, not as part of a grant. So they're asking for £6,000 to do carnival, 3,000 and 3,000 for fireworks. Councillor Jones? From us,
2.5, carnival, 2.5 for fireworks.
2.5 for both previous. Both events. So 5,000 last year based on those two events. Councillor Beavis Morrissey?
We fund them for all of the stuff that they do around the town, and we've got to pay them to help us. Are we stupid? If we're giving them grants in order to do stuff around here, then why are we paying them when they help us on the light switch on? What are we paying them for?
It's towards the sweets, isn't it, I think?
It's all the sweets they take around and yeah.
That makes them look good anyway. Everybody thinks it's off that.
Yeah. It's a good. Just to remind people that we are obviously being recorded. So in terms of the light switch on, which is separate to the grant application, that was 2 years ago, 3 years ago, maybe.
Years ago, and they got paid for this Christmas, even though we didn't go ahead.
Yeah. So that comes out of the Christmas budget, not the grants, but that was to support us to achieve something because we weren't able to do the lights lantern parade on our own at that time, and we've continued it. So in this particular case, they're after £6,000 towards the two events, carnival for 3,000 and a contribution of 3,000 towards the fireworks. Councillor Sinnott?
I mean, clearly costs have gone up over the last few years in terms of running any sort of I suppose the other consideration though is that, you know, they don't just run the events as a round table, they also give some of the profits that they make to other charitable causes. I remember we had this discussion many years ago about, well, you know, we're almost third party giving in a way. If we give to them, they put an event on, and whatever money is made is then, you know, either banked or passed on to other charitable causes. Did we ever get to the bottom of whether or not we got any publicity from the money that we gave to the round table as part of that charitable third party giving?
Yeah, so there has been some publicity in terms of our logo on display and stuff, but obviously we're probably a smaller contributor compared to some of the businesses that have been. And I know that we'd already issued some of the funds before we were able to do the check presentations that we now insist on having. So that's certainly something that this financial year we'll before we release funds, we've stated that the picture date has to be set. Whether that's the mayor or deputy mayor goes to do that.
Well, sorry. Can I just finish that off?
Yeah.
So on that basis, we would see some increased publicity coming into the town council as a result of any grants that we get.
Any grants, yeah.
Well, any grants, but particularly any to the roundtable. I mean, clearly, you know, the big events, they do something that we can't do, and they do it really, really well. So as far as I'm concerned, because the costs, I believe the costs of events are rising, I would be happy to support 6,000.
So we've got a recommendation for £6,000. Have we got a seconder? Okay, we've got a seconder, right? 6, yeah. So I know there was 2 questions then. So Councillor Bridges.
That's matter who gets credit for it ultimately, but I understand the point. So I wanted to emphasise that when we've just gone through this process of the grant review and it was a bit of issue, roundtable concerns, we would not get the application before us before Carnival. One of the main concerns to speaking with the past year is that they were conscious, they wanted to make sure we were people in their it's certainly not been brought out. I think they want to credit. So as that been mentioned, was their grant. They wanted to make sure we were credited appropriately before they put their VR.
Councillor Stevens. Oh, you had your hand up as well, didn't you? Yeah.
Completed the firework display.
No, the round table do it, but on the marina. Yeah. Where's Councillor Beavis Morrissey.
I'm not disputing what they do is really good for the whole town, but what I was saying is that we obviously fund a lot of the other stuff. And I think that with them helping us then on our Christmas, because a lot of people think that is done by the round table anyway, we don't get a lot of credit for that. Although it's not about the credit, for years and years and years, even I thought that it was done by the round table, but yet we're the ones paying them to help us and we're paying them to be able to run a lot of theirs throughout the year. So I just think that maybe a bit of leeway and a little bit of a favour for a favour. Maybe we should be saying to them, well, then we'll provide the sweets if you can just provide the men to give them out, because I don't think it costs that much for sweets. That's all I would like. We obviously give them a lot of budget because what they do is good, but I don't see them when we have to pay in order for us to be able to do something good for our town. Why are we paying them so much for helping us? That was my only point there. So maybe if we are going to be helping them, there should be some terms and conditions on it.
Councillor Sharp.
My only issue is, and you know how I feel about this, because for the firework display, I know it's been publicly recorded, but I'm happy to state the fact we did not get any publicity at the beginning when their original Facebook page went out. It was only that a councillor put an angry face on there, that they corrected themselves and put it on afterwards. So I do think whatever we do, and you are right, we shouldn't be doing it for publicity and thanks, but there are a lot of people around Milford that believe that Milford Town Council don't do anything, and that is not the case. We do a lot. We all give up our time. We're twice a month, etc. And we do help lots of organisations, and we don't get thanks for it. And one of the reasons councillors spent a lot of time, we spent a lot of time reviewing the grant applications, and we've gone down from saying we're not going to give 10,000 because we're going to give 7,500 as the maximum amount now, so that we can spread the money out. And now we're saying we're going to give the round table more than we have done in previous years. I don't know whether I can 100% support and fully up for giving them a large donation and giving them the same as we gave them last year. But to be saying we're trying to cut down and spread this money out fairly to other organisations, and many organisations, I'm thinking about another organisation that I work for, we won't be getting the amount we had last year because of the grants have been reduced, so it can spread out. But then we're now suddenly saying that we are going to give one group more than they have done previously.
Are you making an amendment?
I will make an amendment that we do 2.5 for each, and so they get the same as last year. And it is very insistent. I know what Councillor Bridget is right to say. It is insistent that people do know that the Milford Town Council are contributing towards these events. The carnival is another one where the round table work very, very hard, and they do it all. But we do need to get some recognition in some.
Okay, so just before I open to further comments, £5,000 has been recommended as an amendment. Do I have a seconder for that? Yeah, okay, thank you. Councillor Hammett, you are next.
We should be maybe posting that. They do organise it more. It's very popular. It's free for a lot of people that got do it. But I do think the public needs to make it. And there were certainly businesses that were involved that were interviewed on stage at fireworks. I remember from there last year. Business owners were interviewed. There wasn't, you know, and I do think it should be made very clear. A representative of the council should be there, and it should be made clear that we are actively funding it.
Councillor Jones, you're next.
Involved in all of the events. Do you know what I mean? The town council will actually be a part of that again. The subcommittee, all the events went through the same committee for the whole area. I think.
Councillor Sinnott?
I just want to make a point based on some of the comments that we've made that this is about personal publicity, either for the mayor and deputy mayor. It's not really about town council, but let's not forget the money that we give these organisations. It's the people of Milford's money.
Yeah.
So it's important that they see what we're doing with their money, and that's why we need to be credited so that they can actually see what we do. Except from
You're there.
yeah.
Section.
Understand. Every year consecutively. Some will benefit the Milford economy and events bring. I would, as it gets far winds and the small increase in global land grants benefits it, and that benefits the entire town. So I mean, ultimately, I appreciate what Councillor Sharp is saying, but I'm weighing that up in my head, but the benefits of the events, that they are quite right, they are leaning on us. There's no other way about it, they are leaning on us. We do give a part grant towards it, but my understanding is that we're a very small part of a much larger grants that they receive from other organisations, such as the Finance Board or whatever, but we are by no means the largest. And yet they are bringing a huge amount of footfall into Milford Haven. By far, we are the standard bearers. I say we as in the town of Milford. Now, the standard bearers for firework and carnival display into any town in the county. And they do deserve credit to be supported for that. And ultimately, it's a case of, I do think that would rise it. The fact it's risen, I think it isn't unfair for us to rise that amount in conjunction with that, because we can see the growth that it is bringing every year to that event within the town. The benefits are tangible. So I would certainly support the increase, because I can see that it is bringing to the town. Even though, as I said, as I go over again, it caused a disruption in my business last year. We had a many process. We made the most of it, and it was a brilliant day as a result. You know, so it's a case of, you know, I see the benefit far outweighs any negative point that anybody could bring. The whole town benefits so much from the events that they are putting on. Not just us, they're bringing residents from all over the rest of the county, which I know shouldn't be our priority. However, it speaks to the brand of Milford Haven and we are as a town.
Okay, so we've had the initial proposal of £6,000 and then an amendment of 5,000. So we take the amendment first, unless there's any further amendments. In this case, the amendment was for £5,000 and it's been seconded. So if we all support that, then that would be the amount that they get. If it falls, then we then take the vote for the original recommendation of the 6,000. So the amendment for £5,000, all those in favour? So again, sorry. So this is for the amendment of £5,000. Okay. Those against? And anyone abstaining? So it carries at £5,000 for the round table. Thank you. Agenda item 20 then, schedule of accounts, March 2025. Please see attached. Okay, we've seen all those in favour. Okay, thank you. Agenda item 21, statement of accounts, March 2025.
The bridges has any questions.
You're getting a reputation, yeah? Okay. All those in favour? Thank you. Agenda item 22, summary of expenditure, April 24 to April 25.
Seconded.
Okay. All those in favour? Okay, agenda item 23, a vote to move into private session. Councillor Bridges. Yeah.
Extremely interesting. I believe that outside of the wishes of County Council, we don't represent County Council, we represent the members of the public of the neighbourhood, and ultimately they want to know what is going on in this situation. Now, whether I think people will be more upset knowing that we've been discussing this matter behind closed doors for months without them having any opportunity to give it feedback about that process than they would be to find out if almost online we involved in a decision which we are not going to make public. Now, ultimately, they have shown that last matter that went into the public domain of the press regarding this matter shown there was quite a large interest in this matter. We have got members of the public writing to us regarding this matter, and we have to remember that we are not here to represent our wishes, we represent ultimately nothing in this matter that discusses individual finances, us making any agreements, with only the fact that we are in discussion about potential. And they should be involved in that consultation process. Because if they're not, then they need to have quite towards us and to do.
Councillor Woodward?
This, I know that I slightly. However, on this, I can see nothing financially, costly, staff wise. In fact, tonight, on classified as confidential, we're discussing financial aspects, staffing issues. I see no reason for us to move into private session.
I just double checking. Is there any other comments?
The duty to discuss. There's nothing personal or financial or concern in this matter. I don't see how we would rather go into private sector.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. I think, as I said at the start, when the question was raised, my concern was that ensuring that our partnership with both the Port and Hampshire County Council holds strong, because we want to come to an agreement at the end of this to support the library for the future. So, and as I alluded to, or in fact I read out, we've had a response from Mike Kavanagh on behalf of the council. We haven't had anything in writing, although we have had a verbal update from the director of comms, I think is the official title, but Anna Malloy, who agrees with Mike's proposal of the way forward. I think there was one element, and I'm not saying it because we haven't agreed one way or the other yet, and it is obviously still recording, but there could be an impact to staff. So I think as long as we have pre-warned Mike that this recording will go on at whatever date it is, I think I agree that actually there's nothing private in there that couldn't be shared. The bit that I'm mentioning around the staff impact is the potential use of volunteers, but we did discuss that being in addition to, not necessarily as a result of loss of hours, depending on what the outcomes are. But it is all very informal still, isn't it? There's no real way forward yet. There's no real decision. So, you know, I'm open to it not being confidential personally. Yeah.
However, in this instance, what we're looking at is something that's already in the main public. They already knew that we're already aware that people are being placed for 12 months. So the reality is they know that discussions are going on, not them not knowing that we're least involved in a discussion when we're not talking about extremely sensitive aspects. I think would be wrong. I just feel that we've got more to gain as a council by being transparent when we can. To be completely truthful, I'm not saying I will not agree to go into private sector in the future unless issues are talking about specific staff and the sort of specific building. You know, I can understand there are reasons, but this particular moment, I don't see that we have any reason to go into private sector again. There's nothing sensitive here. The public are not already aware of it.
Yeah, and as I said, I don't disagree with that. But as I said, for me, it was making sure that the Port and ECC had the opportunity to input into that. We've had that, so you know, I'm open to whatever the council would like to make the decision on. So yeah. So would you second that? Yeah. Okay. So all those in favour of not going into private session? Thank you. So agenda item 24 then, reports from the informal meetings. Obviously these will be made available to the public now. Is there any comments, questions around the reports that are submitted to you? Councillor Bridges?
I can discuss this point. Because
Specifics, yeah. Potential, yeah.
Potential,
Yeah.
one of the potential sites that could be offered. And I'm discussing here that obviously it's not the right move for the library.
Yeah.
I can see that, you know, that everybody is looking at potential solutions that will save money down the road. But I think there was wider topics. I mean, ultimately, it's a case of, you know, the current building compared to that. I do not feel would resonate very well with those attendees that currently use the premises, which I didn't feel that it was a great option.
Just on the benefit of the council, weren't there, just to clarify this. The old John Long building, kind of like Community Church building on the hill. Used to be one half, the other half, and it's a side where you go into a housing terrace with up steps. That's the building we're talking about. There was talk about whether the library had physically moved in there or not, and whether we wanted to be part of that building. I think, and I speak unofficially, I'm not sure, like Councillor Bridges, it's the best building for a library, and I think they probably agree with that. And I just want to make the other councillors fully aware of exactly what we're talking about here. Thank you.
I think just to add context to that, I think the general feeling is that it's not necessarily the right fit for the library. However, no, exactly. It does come at a bit of a cost saving, which could help in the long run. So absolutely, Mike Kavanagh and his team need to work through whether it is an opportunity for them to look at. And for our perspective as a town council, at either sites, is there an opportunity for us to be involved for meeting venues, etc. And you'll see from the notes that that is possible. And regardless of that, how we want to support the library then moving forward. So there are a number of different avenues that the group is exploring in our own silos and then returning together to discuss. And I don't think we've set the next meeting yet, have we? No, but we probably should do that soon. So before we'll know, it'll be the end of the year. Yeah. But I mean, unless there's any specific questions, you know, you've got the information. I think it's a move receipt of the information, and as more discussions happen, we'll share more with you. Councillor Sharp.
Just one thing to throw into the mix. Now there are other properties becoming available. Are they open to be looked at? The old post office is now back up on sale. Bruce is getting it.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
The old sorting office.
On Robert Street.
Sorting office.
Parking bays in front of it and everything.
Councillor Bridges.
It's particularly very adamant we want to sell that building. And also need to find a renovation, so we rather like, it's a very good point, it's a lovely building.
Yeah.
It's a shame that it can, it can be very adamant how that would be.
Okay. All right. Well, I think just to add to that point, actually, Pembrokeshire County Council property team are involved in these discussions. So if there is something that comes up, they are exploring it, as well as any other properties that might become available. But unless there's any further comments or questions, we'll move minutes. So all those in favour? Okay, thank you very much. You'll be delighted to know that that's the end of the meeting. That's been 2 long meetings. I say long meetings. The first one was short, but that's been a long evening of meetings. So thank you very much for your participation, and we'll look forward to Monday, the 12th of May, as our annual meeting, and Mayor and Deputy Mayor making. So thank you very much, everyone.